we're going to meet the California mother and now author who took after revenge porn king Hunter Moore. If you know anything about revenge porn and Hunter Moore, you probably know more than you need to. It's terrible stuff. Her name is Charlote Laws, and she has a brand new book called Rebel in High Heels. You'll hear her story and her campaign against this virulent internet phenom and character next here on 980 CJME and 650 CKOM. We've talked in the past about revenge porn. It's come up in different contexts, but an interesting story out about a Southern California mom who has written a book that chronicles her odyssey through tackling not just revenge porn, but the notorious Hunter Moore, the guy behind isanyoneup.com. Just to orient you, what is revenge porn? Well, more often than not, clearly it victimizes women. It's compromising, embarrassing pictures, often taken with consent originally, but turned over by disgruntled boyfriends, jealous exes, what have you. And this scumbag, Hunter Moore, posts them on this website, and sometimes identifying information, a woman's name, her address. It's terrible stuff. Well, Charlote Laws found herself embroiled in this when her daughter had some pictures show up, and we find Charlote Laws in Southern California today. Hey, welcome to Western Canada. Good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me about the call you get from Kayla back in 2012, your daughter, and it's every parent's one you don't want to hear. Mom, something's happened and it's terrible.
Right. I mean, yeah, I originally assumed it was a car accident, which is what most parents would think, and she told me about the photo. I had never heard of revenge porn prior to that day, and I did a search online. I saw the photo, and I learned very quickly that Hunter Moore did not remove pictures, and it would be extremely difficult to get that photo taken off the internet. So, it was really distressing for my daughter. She was in tears. She was like, I call this cyber rape because she acted like a traditional rape victim, as do most revenge porn victims. She locked herself in her room. She shut down her online presence. She was basically in a fetal position, so to speak. And it's very difficult for victims to get that material removed themselves. They just don't usually have the strength to fight it. So they usually need to have someone in their family, a parent or a friend or someone who can get that content removed or attempt to get it removed. And I started an investigation of Hunter Moore and his site while I was trying to get her photo off of it, and found out there was a hacking scheme, and basically did my own study. I started contacting people featured on his site and asked them how they got there, and 40% of them had been hacked. 12% of them had been photoshopped. So in other words, they'd never taken a nude picture. Someone had cropped off their head and put it with a porn star's body and stuck it on the website along with their name, their city, their social media link, sometimes their employment information, their parents' email. The goal of the site was to harass the person, try to get them fired, try to get them to commit suicide, and the content was frequently forwarded to their friends, their family, and their employment contacts.
God, that's awful. Yeah, you're an academic by training. Your husband's a lawyer. You pushed this thing hard. How did you? Now, did you take down Hunter Moore or simply just deal him a couple of body blows here?
Well, I put a lot of effort into this. It's not like you could just do a couple of things and Hunter Moore's gone. He was extremely powerful, and he had 600,000 followers on Twitter. He had a group called The Family. His followers would say, "I would kill for you, father." They were his children. They used Charles Manson type of language. So I got death threats. I got computer viruses. I had a stalker come to my house. It was actually a very frightening period, and it lasted for several years. It was like a couple of years of fighting him. I did go to the FBI, and I was able to convince them to take the case because of the hacking, and so he was eventually arrested. But it was definitely a lot of work that I had to put into this cause.
And of course, fittingly enough, when they arrest Hunter Moore, age 29, he's at a house in Sacramento, quote, he shares with his parents. Oh, right. God. Tells you all you need to know about Hunter Moore.
Yeah, so the sentencing date is coming up at the end of June, and he's looking at 2 to 7 years in prison because he did a plea deal. The hacker is looking currently at 42 years in prison because he doesn't have a plea deal yet, and his trial is scheduled to begin in 2 weeks.
Wow. So the experience your daughter went through and the fact that you stepped up and did this, and you've written the book about it, Rebel in High Heels, is the message here that we can get the power back ourselves?
Absolutely, and that anybody can just fight. No matter what the forces are, you can fight for change and you can make change happen. And now people take this issue seriously. When I began, I was a lone voice. And now many people have gotten involved in the cause. We have law enforcement paying attention to these issues and taking up these cases. We have politicians passing laws. We now have laws in 18 states here in the United States. And one of the congresswomen plans to bring forth a federal law this coming year. So we've really made great strides, and of course the media talks about it, so people are much more aware of the issue.
And you made the point, and you relate the story when you first went to the FBI, saying a bit sarcastically, you help Scarlett Johansson when she gets hacked, but you're not there for my daughter.
Exactly, and and it's I don't want to. I mean, I do think that that's pretty bad that you kind of get unequal treatment with law enforcement. They do take celebrities more seriously. But I will say that they are very busy, and I think it's very difficult for them to decide what cases to take and which cases not to take. And when they first came to my house, even though I got them to come to the house after I made that sarcastic comment, they told me initially that they did not think they would be able to get approval to move forward because there was not a lot of money lost. And so but luckily, at that point, I had already contacted victims all over the country, and I found many people who had been hacked by the same hacker. And so I had a 12-inch file that I was able to give to the lead FBI agent, and I think that that's what persuaded them because they realized it wasn't just my daughter. There were many victims out there, and that this was a pretty big case.
Dr. Charlote Laws with us, author of Rebel in High Heels, the mom who took on revenge porn I don't know what you call him, scumbag Hunter Moore. That site that he runs or did run, is that still around?
No, it's not around anymore. He took it down during the FBI investigation. At one point, he said he was going to put it back up, and he was going to put all the original photos along with the victims' addresses and directions on how to get to their houses. And that's when I put his home address public on the Internet, and I got so much backlash from his followers at that point. That's when everything went really, really crazy. That's when there was a stalker at my house, and then the underground group Anonymous came to my aid. It was a huge deal. But it's not currently up anymore, thank goodness. And he hasn't had access to the Internet for at least a year. Ever since he was formally charged, he has not had access to the Internet, and his Twitter account has been removed by the FBI.
Does this kind of stuff still go on, though? I mean, this is only one fish.
Absolutely. Yeah, there are an estimated 8,000 revenge porn sites around the world. Victims contact me constantly. I've talked to over 300 victims in the last 3 years. So I do counsel people on how to get that content removed and what they can do. So obviously, if any of your listeners need assistance, they can contact me, and they can find me on Twitter at Charlote Laws, just like my name. And so I'm always willing to help. And we have an organization, a nonprofit called the Cyber Civil Rights Initiative, and so anybody who's a victim can go onto the site. Actually, the best site is one of our campaigns called endrevengeporn.org, and there are lots of resources on there, and we have certain attorneys who are willing to help victims pro bono, and lots of other information that can help you if you are victimized by someone with respect to this issue. Charlotte,
terrific meeting you today. All the best on the new book, Rebel in High Heels, and thanks for what you're doing. We'll chat again.
Thank you.
Dr. Charlote Laws in Southern California, the mom who took on revenge porn king Hunter Moore, and he's pled out, he's awaiting sentencing, and he will do time. As a result of that site is anyoneUp.com. But again, still 8,000 estimated revenge porn sites somewhere